Hello and welcome back to the Fat Dad Fishing Show. I'm your regular host, Rich Natoli, and it is that time of year where it's just really tough sometimes to get on here, stay healthy, and all that stuff. Scotty was sick for quite a while, and he's not feeling good tonight either. So let's make sure we make fun of him when he's when he's on. Dude can't stay healthy, but he's here. He's here tonight. I was sick. I actually wasn't sick last week. I just couldn't talk. Felt fine, couldn't talk. And now with this incredible snowstorm that has hit pretty much everybody in the viewing and listening audience, it's time to just talk fishing because not too many people have hit the water in the past week. And it doesn't look like there's going to be a lot of opportunity to hit it coming up in the next week, or at least the next 5 days, where we're looking at single digits overnight and so on and so forth. But this is not a weather report. We're going to jump in fairly quickly because we have Justin Lerner on. And if you haven't met Justin yet, he's got a lot to say about a lot of different fish in a lot of different places. And all of you that are thinking about bucket lists should probably pay attention, because whether it's freshwater, saltwater, this continent or not, Justin's done a lot. So we're gonna dive in and meet him. Scotty is here as well. We're going to dive in real quick with the sponsors, and we're going to start off, as always, with our first sponsor ever for this show, the Great Bay Outfitters on Radio Road in Tuckerton, New Jersey. Paul and his team, look, anything kayak related, he's got a ton of boats in. I think he got 100 plus new boats in a couple of weeks ago. I don't think you're going to want to jump on the lagoon and give him a test drive right now, but it's one of the best things about Great Bay Outfitters. I always recommend to people, if you're going to buy a kayak or you think you are, do everything you can to get it on the water. And they're right on the water. He's right there. He's got a dock. He's got the lagoon. You can test them all out and see which one is comfortable for you. Then we have Quad Stay Tuned with Kevin Driscoll. Give them a call or a text at 484-633-5975. And if you have a Toyota truck, so Tacoma, Tundra, 4Runner, even the Lexus, I think it's a Lexus 470 and the Lexus 460. These are engine tunes that'll work for you. If you're hauling a boat, especially, in my opinion, you'll get better mileage, better torque, better performance out of those engines. And then me for real estate, Southeastern Pennsylvania. I do have a network in other states. So if you have real estate needs, give me a call, 267-270-1145. And if you're thinking about downsizing, we have a complimentary webinar coming up on the 3rd of February. Reach out to me by text and I'll get you set up with that. It's all on downsizing, not just how to sell a house, but really most of it's going to be focused on what's the process behind that. So if you're like me and hate shoveling driveways, and if you have a long driveway, you might be thinking about it. So you can check that out. With that said, we are now going to jump in. I'm going to bring Scotty on first. Scotty, good to see you, man.
What's up, Rich? How's it going, my friend?
I'm excited to be back. I can talk now, so that's always a good thing. I was telling you before, I did hurt my back, which makes me feel really old. So I'm kind of getting through that. So I couldn't fish if I wanted to, but I did try to get out on the water last week, and it was all frozen. So yeah, I'm off the water for now, along with 99% of the other folks. I saw a lot of the big boats go into dock, get dry docked for this cold snap coming up. And man, it's just time to talk fishing. That's all we can do right now.
I know. I hear you. I just spent, what was it? Whatever day was before the storm, in 10 degree, it feels like 10 degrees. Weather. I was out there for 12 hours covering my boat and building a circuit tent, and 25 knot winds, mind you, trying to wrestle this big boat cover onto my boat. So
fun.
It was quite a circus.
Yeah, fun stuff. Oh, I want to mention before we bring, first of all, Justin, just for people, I was just looking at his pictures from fishing yesterday. I think it was yesterday. So this dude's on the water. He's in Florida right now, from New Jersey. So he's got the full range, but he's fishing Florida. So, we're going to be freezing, and he may, he knows what real cold is. He knows what it's like up here, but he can actually get out on the water. But I do want to mention this. And if you don't follow the Facebook page, people, it's been on there. In the last live that we did, we talked about setting up a community where everybody could get together and interact and not just wait for the live streams, right? For the chat. So we have
Yeah.
set a Discord server. It is private right now, so nobody can get in at the moment as we're building it out. Joe Billups and my brother Tom have jumped in as admins with me, and we're trying to build this up. And we have a few volunteers of people that are going to come in and start testing it, giving feedback and everything like that on the 1st of February. So that's coming. And
Awesome.
yeah, and for people that aren't familiar with Discord,
Yeah, I'm not at all.
it's got a lot of features, but look, you can use it like a message board. So think of the old Bass Barn, right? You can use it that way.
That's what I grew up on. That's how I met some of my best fishing friends through Bass Barn.
Yeah, and I met a lot of dysfunctional people in Bass Barn too. I was one of them back then. A lot of that too.
Yeah.
The drama coming out of Wildwood back in the day through the Bass Barn was insanity. And it was so damn entertaining. I actually miss it. But we're going to have our own version up there, hopefully a little bit cleaner. There are voice channels too that we'll eventually put up, but we're going to organize get-togethers and events and everything through there. So I'm looking forward to that. If anyone wants to join in on that, go onto Facebook, follow the Fat Dad Fishing page, and send me a direct message. And we'll get you in on the early adopter side, so you can help us build this out. So, with that said, let's just jump in. Let's get Justin on here.
Awesome,
Justin, welcome.
How's it going, guys?
What's going on, Justin?
Yeah, I don't want to ask about the weather, but
well, the weather. You've been through enough of them, but you've been out of the area for a while.
Yeah.
And wanted to start off. So look, so for full disclosure for everybody, Justin and I just met about 10 minutes ago. Right. So this is just one of those free flowing conversations with everything. Scotty and Justin know each other through Instagram, I believe, for a few years, maybe texts, but have never actually spoken until tonight either. So this is the kind of episode that I personally love. It's just going to be three dudes talking fishing, and we'll see what the hell comes up and, see what comes out of it. But why don't we start this way? So Justin, for those that don't know who you are and what you do, why don't you give just a little bit of a background to yourself?
I grew up in New Jersey. Fishing's always been a big part of my life since, I don't know. I was my dad. My first memories, my dad would take me fishing at Round Valley, I think when I was probably no older than 3 or 4 years old. But I've been fishing fresh and salt water ever since then. I've been fortunate to I've lived in Australia for a bit, and I've been fortunate to have the opportunity to travel a lot to fish. And now I live down in Florida. I've always loved the East Coast of Florida. It's a great place to fish. It's one of the few spots where most fisheries are accessible by foot or by kayak. So, it really, really doesn't get better than that. And
But you do a lot. Like you say, you're freshwater and saltwater.
Mm-hmm.
What do you prefer?
That's a very, very tough question. At the end of the day, I'd probably have to say saltwater, but I like to fish, and I can get excited by catching, 14-inch trout or, 1,000-pound tuna. So, there's pluses to both of them. I obviously in general, especially in the United States, your bigger, stronger fish are going to be in salt water.
Right.
That's not true in freshwater in other countries, but, I love saltwater fishing. I love catching a lot of the species, but one of my passions that I did a ton of living in the Northeast was trout fishing. And the thing that I really loved about it was, getting out in the woods by myself, away from anybody else, and it's just, you and the stream and, solitude. There's a lot of very easily accessed fishing spots here in Florida that are all very good, but most of them you're rarely gonna be by yourself. So
Right. Yeah. It's funny. Chris Matusin is a guy that comes on this show every once in a while, and he loves saltwater, but he is on this trout kick right now. And he drives up from New Jersey. He lives right on the coast, but he drives to Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Fishes the Pennsylvania streams in Chester County. I think it's Chester and Montgomery. Maybe Montgomery, but I know Chester County. And that's something that you don't quite have down there in Florida.
No, it's the one thing that I don't. I mean, there's some in the neighboring states. My girlfriend and I, we didn't go this fall, but we'd been going up to the Blue Ridge Mountains in Georgia.
Yeah.
There is actually some really good trout fishing around Atlanta. There's it's the Chattahoochee River. It's a lower dam release, so it stays cold year round, but there's a lot of good trout fishing there. Arkansas, again, that's a flight, but has some of the biggest has the biggest wild brown trout in the United States. So there's
Arkansas does?
Arkansas. Really? Yep. The White River and the Little Red River. You'd never expect it, but there's fish.
Never would have guessed.
Yeah. There's fish. I mean, the prior world record before it was broken in New Zealand was from the Little Red River in Arkansas, and it was somewhere in the 40-pound range. Just
good God,
wow,
massive. But yeah,
right.
I miss my trout fishing, but it's been replaced with snook and tarpon. So
right. So let's get you. Let's get you.
Bass. Yeah.
Let's get you on level with the bulk of the audience. So most of our audience is from Philadelphia, New York. And then down, I guess those are the top two cities or areas. What when you're fishing up here, if you could come up here at any time of the year and we said you have to go fishing, pick a time of the year and pick a species, what are you doing?
Oh man, that will probably be summer or fall tuna. I mean, canyon fishing was a passion of mine when I lived up there, and things have definitely changed over the years. It used to be different. If canyon fishing used to be better back in the late 90s or back in the 90s, I'd say. But there's still excellent fishing there, and catching yellowfin and big eyes and wahoo and all those different species. It's just I love the offshore.
That's kind of what I grew up doing, offshore fishing, like in the 90s, early 2000s. That's kind of that was my thing. That's really was the bulk of my fishing experiences was all that growing up. So that's cool.
It's cool. Funny. We talk very little about the offshore, like the true offshore fishing on this channel so far. And we're Justin, just so you're aware, we are expanding into more and more this year. But my brother is in the chat. He could vouch for this. We grew up fishing for tuna as well. I mean, we're off now, not canyons. We didn't have a boat that would hit the canyons. But we did have a 24-foot Grady weight, which would get us out, far enough for the footballs, so we're out for the smaller ones, a lot of mahi fishing. I even caught, mahi on a fly, that type of thing. That's what we used to do. And I got to be honest, I do miss that. And I got to say, I am extremely happy that you didn't say striped bass at any time of the year, because we talk way too much striped bass on this channel.
I love stripers too. You can actually get stripers in Florida. Believe it or not, the Panhandle area does have them. There's some lakes there, and I'm trying to remember the name of it, the Apalachicola River, up by when you go up towards Georgia, Lake Seminole. There's dam release there. They get big ones, and there was traditionally Gulf strain stripers. I think they've stocked over them with the Atlantic strain, but you can still get them there. Obviously, it's nothing like New Jersey though.
Right. And would you ever take time to go for the striped bass, or are you just overwhelmed with all the other species down there?
Honestly, overwhelmed. And if, my family's still in New Jersey, so I do go up several times a year. And if I'm going to striper fish, it's probably going to be in New Jersey.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So let's talk a little bit about some of the cooler things that you've done. So, okay. So you fish Florida. To you, that's normal. I look at your Facebook feed and everything. And all right, you're tossing, hey, just caught these snook, just turned around and caught these red, you got everything in there. Those are normal to you right now, I'm assuming. So what are some of the coolest trips that you've taken that you can share with everybody?
I mean, just last year, I went down to the Uruguay River and fished for golden dorado.
Oh,
That was
I remember.
Yeah, it's an incredible species, and the dam, the Salto Grande Dam down there on the river between Uruguay and Argentina, that's where you're going to find the absolute biggest of the species. I mean, you can find them in other rivers in Argentina, and there's actually some beautiful mountain stream or beautiful jungle streams that look like trout streams up in some other countries, but those are largely the only lodges there cater to fly fishing. So if you're a spin guy, it's not it's not going to be something that they'll allow. But and those fish are good size, but they're nothing compared to the ones down in on the Uruguay River. I mean, they hang out under this electric dam and just absolutely gorge themselves and get monstrous. I mean, 30s, 40s, 50 plus pound fish are possible.
Yeah.
And how are you targeting those?
Mm-hmm.
Throwing lures, I mean, top water a lot of the time. I mean, they absolutely demolish a top water, but we caught them on just about everything we threw. I brought down soft plastics, no live bait needed, soft plastics to see how they'd like them. And they lasted one bite. Golden Dorado have really sharp teeth, and their jaws are like a pit bull. So it's like a bluefish on steroids. And lures, even like hard wood lures and stuff would last a couple of days before they're just destroyed.
Really?
We're using 300 pounds.
Yeah, they've always been a bucket list of mine too. Just anyone I've ever talked to that has caught them just says nothing compares.
Yeah, they're incredibly strong, and just their willingness to slam artificials and pretty much anything you throw at them is just it's just amazing.
They look like the what do they call it? The what is it, arapaima with the teeth?
Oh, are you thinking of Pyara with the
it's got like those the teeth are like they're like crocodile teeth on it, right?
Yeah.
I mean they're oversized.
Tigerfish, yeah.
Tigerfish. I've never even thought about catching one of those.
Yeah, they do look very similar to that. They're very similar. It's funny because a lot of they're adapted to live and feed in a river. Tigerfish are a riverine species too, and they look, I mean, superficially they look like big thick salmon and trout too. These are all species.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, they're all species that
they almost look like a.
Go ahead, Scotty.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I was going to say they almost look like a giant salmon or a giant golden trout with teeth.
Yeah,
but
I don't know, man.
they're
They
beautiful.
look vicious to me.
Always been a bucket list of mine. Yeah,
So okay, so you're down in Argentina, you're fishing for these. Did you go down specifically for this species, or were you down there just doing different fishing? And is this something that a big topic? I keep getting questions about this. The bucket list trips. Is this a bucket list trip? Is it worth doing, or is it like you do it when you're down there for another reason? It's really a day, or is this something that you can like really jump into for a week and have fun for the whole week?
I mean, I would say bucket. I went down there specifically to do that. That general area. There's not believe it or not, there's not a ton of other species. I mean, the one other big species to catch there is the Cerubi catfish, but we didn't get any on our trip. I saw a couple rise to the surface and roll, but yeah, I mean, the guides are limited. There's River Platte Outfitters that I fished with. That's pretty much, I think, the only operation right now that's able to fish that area, and they do 4-day trips. So you don't really have the ability to go down there and fish one day, but you really wouldn't want to travel all that way and fish one day. The river conditions and whether the dam's generating electricity or not, and water's flowing through can affect how good the bite is. So, you want to spend a few days.
Okay. Now let's talk. Now you used to live in Australia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I am personally extremely interested in Australia. Especially the salt water. When I was growing up, you'd see every once in a while the Saturday morning shows, and somebody would go to Australia, and it was freaking amazing.
Yeah.
What area of Australia did you spend most of your time?
So I was mostly in the central East Coast, so Brisbane area.
Okay.
I did do a lot of traveling and fishing around the country as well, though. So I got to experience a number of different fisheries there. Not enough.
Right.
There's plenty more, but.
And what was your favorite to target in the Brisbane area?
In the Brisbane area, so the Brisbane is that area is kind of subtropical. You can catch GTs. I used to catch smaller GTs from in the lagoons and the estuaries. We used to go out and jig Pacific yellowtail, which were a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Those were probably my favorites in that area. But there's numerous other species to catch. There's a lot of good offshore fishing there. Billfish, tuna.
Yeah, and that's one thing I wanted to ask about. So you've done a lot of offshore. I mean, when you're talking 1,000-pound tunas, you've hooked into them and everything. Most people have never gotten a sniff of them. Have you gone after them with any like alternative approaches, like fly fishing or spinning? Not necessarily the 1,000-pounders, or have you gone strictly for the billfish and these larger offshore, with the traditional trolling or jigging?
I mean, most of it was traditional trolling and jigging. I have caught bluefin and yellowfin on poppers and top waters. So that's, that's super exciting as well. But yeah, a lot of the trolling, jigging, chunking, traditional Northeast stuff.
Gotcha. And so it translates. If you're catching tuna on it here, you're going to be catching tuna in Australia the same way.
Yeah. I mean, you can certainly do that. They do. There's a lot of yellowfin around the country, and then along the southern half of the country, they have the southern bluefin tuna, which is a different species than what we have here. They don't get quite as big.
Really?
They only probably about 300, 350, 400 pounds maybe, but they do have some really good fishing for them out of like Melbourne, Tasmania, the southern part of the country. And guys do go out and catch them on spinning gear, especially now that spinning gear is really,
come a long way.
Yeah. I mean, the first tuna I caught on spin was with Dom Pacharka up in Massachusetts, and I think that was 2009, and it was like, the rod was like a broomstick, and it was a Van Staal.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, and any of these techniques is really translatable across wherever those species swim.
I find it really interesting. We talk about this on the show from time to time. You get these species, and even if it's not the same species, right? But you get like, say, a weak fish versus a speckled trout.
Yeah.
People think they're not even closely related. They look the same or very similar. And what you find is people fish for them differently up and down the coast. And two examples. sheep's head fishing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in the mid-Atlantic and Northeast, you got the bottom sweeper type of jig. And we've been fishing that for a very long time up here. But it didn't make its way south where there's more sheep's head for quite a while. At least it didn't grow in popularity until probably 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, you got the popping cork, which I'm sure, I'm sure you have one, whether you fish it or not, you have one and you know it works. And it's difficult to find somebody in Rhode Island that has a popping cork, even though they fish for striped bass. You know what I mean? And we don't even use the same tactics in the United States, but you're saying we could use the same tactics and probably much of the same tackle across the globe.
Yeah. I mean, it's so a few different things. So even if you're talking about the same species, I mean, we've seen it, for decades. They fished they trolled those Mojo rigs for striped bass down in the Chesapeake area. Nobody ever did it in the Northeast. Then they brought it up there. Those fish are eating. I mean, it's going to work. And a lot of my approach to fishing is fishing more the environment than it is the fish. And I'm going to tell you right now, snook fishing is pretty much identical to trout fishing.
Really?
Yeah. They both.
Is it really?
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, most of the spots that I'm fishing for snook are inlets, the intercoastal waterway or the estuaries, the Indian River, and they're doing the same thing. When trout are actively feeding, they're kind of hugging the bottom and looking or looking, just waiting for stuff to drift by, and snook just do the same thing. They set up. So if you think about presenting your bait in the same method, it's going to be successful. People use a whole different suite of techniques for species depending on where they live. But ultimately, I think that, the different techniques are going to work. It's all about presentation, but that you can look for fish that occupy similar environments, and they're probably going to respond the same as other fish that live in that type of environment.
All right, so compare. All right, so I've never targeted a snook. I just never have. The only times I fished in Florida, I was north of where you should really be spending your time targeting them. You get a lucky catch. So compare that now to redfish.
Okay.
So what are you changing between the redfish and the speckled trout when you're out there fishing? If you know they're both in the same spot, or the snook, if you know they're in the same spot and you want to target one or the other, are you doing anything differently, or is it the luck of the draw?
I mean, it's luck of the draw where I live. So I'm in Jupiter now, but I was in the Port St. Lucie area, and unfortunately, long story short, years of releases from Okeechobee killed that. The Stewart area, that Indian River, that part of the Indian River used to be flush with giant sea trout and lots of redfish. The seagrass died off because of these releases from Okeechobee. So you have to go further north for more consistent sea trout and red fishing. Where it doesn't affect the snook because the snook have a different life history. They're not relying on the seagrass,
right?
Tarpon either. But if you're fishing in an area where snook and redfish are both prevalent, you can catch them on. I mean, pick your poison. They will eat paddle tail. They'll both eat paddle tail swim baits. They'll both eat a jig that looks like a shrimp. They'll both eat top waters. When I lived up in Tallahassee, we used to fish a gulp shrimp on a jig head about 20 inches under a popping cork and just pop that along. I mean, snook will hit that too. Sea trout. So really, I mean, if they're both in the same area, and a lot of times both, in a lot of these spots, snook and redfish are going to be in the same area up along the mangroves and up on flats in the river, and you can catch them. You can just throw like a 3 or 4 inch paddle tail, and you'll catch them both.
All right, I freaking love that because I have been telling people, when I catch specks and I catch redfish, I'm not changing anything. It's the same spot. It's the same ambush spots. Now, I do find that if I get a really shallow point, I find the redfish up closer into the weeds, right? Then I will the specks. The specks will typically for me, they'll sit more on the drop, even if it's only a 5-inch drop, they'll sit more there, and the redfish will go right up and sit in the weeds.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you're talking about the difference of 3 feet, so on a cast, you're covering both. You're getting into that weed line and you're pulling it out. And people told me I was nuts and that it was stupid. I was like, no, I catch them both in the same spot, which is why when I make a trip to North Carolina and I'm fishing the Pamlico Sound, I have spots that are points next to channels that I catch both. I mean, I just look for that because then I know I can catch them both there.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, a lot of the spots I fish in the Indian River, those flats and stuff up next to the mangroves. I mean, you'll see, there'll be a red there, and you'll see a snook there, sea trout. I mean, and you'll catch all 3 species in the same day because they're all hanging out.
So, can I just interrupt real quick? So,
Sure.
the Indian River is huge. So, my uncle actually lives in Vero Beach. So, when I go down there, a lot of times, I'm grateful that he lets me stay there. So I kind of fish that Vero area, Sebastian Inlet. I'm familiar with some of the backwater behind Vero Beach through the Indian River. What part of the Indian River do you typically fish, like when you're snook fishing? Or like the reds?
Yeah, so the snook mostly down by actually pretty much Jensen Beach to Fort Pierce, just because it's close to where I live. And I was living in Fort St. Lucie and it was right there. But I do go up. I mean, I have friends in the north, so I do go fish the Vero area too. Sebastian Inlet's great. It just gets crowded. I used to fish that.
Sebastian. So I love Sebastian Inlet actually, and that's one of my like must stop. Like I always like to dedicate a couple of days to fish there, but it's a very, very overwhelming and difficult inlet to fish and fish properly. You know what I mean? Without like using tackle, you know what I mean? And the water just like rips through that through that inlet. But my first snook that I ever caught was actually in the Sebastian Inlet.
Yeah, it's a great spot.
Live lining croaker. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I mean the shame about snook fishing, anyway, especially inlets, is that you're going to lose a lot of tackle. There's no way around.
Yeah, I think Fort Pierce was the other inlet that I fished a lot, and I was lucky enough to get my second snook. Actually, my personal best snook came out of Fort Pierce Inlet at nighttime. Awesome. But
yeah, I mean, really, pretty much any of the inlets on the East Coast, even as far north as Canaveral. But from Sebastian south, all of those inlets will hold snook. All of them will hold tarpon. It's pretty much Sebastian north where you're going to consistently get redfish. But yeah, any of those.
Sebastian north is where you're going to find redfish at then, huh?
Yeah, there in north. I mean, recent winters it hasn't. It's a wintertime thing, and recent winters it hasn't been as good as it
really
was. Yeah. I mean,
I love the cold.
Yeah, I've heard from guys that it's been slower. Like I said, it gets crowded there, so I tend to avoid it. But it's a fantastic. Anybody that's down in the area, it's a fantastic inlet to fish, and there's plenty of fishing access, which is another good thing. But I mean, we used to go up there in the early 2000s, and you could go up any random night, late night tide, and be you and a couple other people fishing there. It was great.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's do this. All right. So you fished, I assume, the entire East Coast.
For the most part, yeah.
Okay. So let's go by species that people may want to target, and give your top location that you go, not a spot obviously, but like what town would you go to and when would you go to it? So let's start off, since we just ended so snook, let's start with snook. Where would you, obviously we're talking Florida, but where in Florida would you go, somebody, and what time of year would you go for somebody that just wants to get on some snook?
So I mean, if you just want to get on snook, there's a lot of options. The Gulf Coast, a lot of the beaches there, I mean, they'll just load up on the beaches in the summer. On the East Coast, I would say Jupiter to Sebastian, anywhere in there is the best area. But I mean, you can find them. They'll be on all of the beaches on the East Coast, you know, from they do get further and further north now that the waters are a bit warmer. But I mean, I would target anywhere from Fort Pierce south, any of the beaches on the East Coast in the summer, or you get numbers of fish and you'll get big fish too.
Okay. Now let's skip directly into the speckled trout.
Speckled
anywhere
trout,
on the coast.
I mean, speckled trout, really, I would say your best bet. So your best bet for bigger fish would probably be the East Coast up around up from Melbourne through the Indian River, the Banana River, those areas north of pretty much from, you know, the Melbourne area north. The Gulf Coast, Tampa Bay, all the way through the Panhandle has fantastic speckled trout fishing. You know, when I lived in Tallahassee, the areas along the Panhandle there that are just flush with seagrass have just tons and tons of sea trout.
Okay. Now let's say a non-Florida location for redfish.
I mean, without question, the Chesapeake Bay area in the late spring, summer, the biggest, you know, with the exception of maybe late fall in the Outer Banks, you know, the Chesapeake area just has huge numbers and just massive fish.
Right.
I mean, giants.
Yeah.
Have you fished the late season run of redfish in the Chesapeake?
I actually haven't.
Okay.
Not the late season.
We had a guest on here before and we talked about that, and it was, and went on a trip too. It was insanity what we did for that. And then we actually didn't end up getting on the trip, but the entire process was it was impressive. I mean, we were put well over 100 and some miles on the boat. Just chasing schools and then, you know, using the electronics. That was interesting. The other part is in the spring, though, you're talking more down near the southern bridges, right? Right at the mouth.
Yeah, I think that, like I'm not as well versed in that fishery, but I'm pretty sure I have friends up there and stuff. I think it's the May through the summer time frame. I mean, I used to go up there in July and sight fish cobia. The cobia fishing there is just outstanding from May through September. And you could do both. But they see massive schools of giant redfish.
Oh, I got to get out there again. It's been way too long since I've been for this. All right, let's make a little bit of a switch. We're bringing further and further north. I'm going to assume, all right, a boring fish, but the flounder. Where are you going for flounder?
So I actually don't target flounder that often. But I mean, just judging by what I've seen from other people, I mean, I would say Nantucket shoals.
Okay.
In the summer. You know, that's just where they seem to get the absolute massive fluke.
And you're not fishing. Okay. So you don't like fishing for flounder. Is it because they're not as exciting? Like what would keep you from targeting flounder?
I don't know. I mean, I just have, you know, I have other species that I'd prefer to target. I mean, in the summertime, when I was living up in New Jersey, the summertime, if I was doing, you know, if we were weathered out, or if I was, you know, going to do freshwater, I did a lot of pike fishing. Yeah. And if I wasn't doing that, then it was offshore, you know, tuna and billfish.
Yeah, I got you. I kind of got, I think, into, I'm addicted to fluke now. I can't get enough of it. And it's more, the one problem that I always have is you're not going to get the exciting fight out of it. you know? So for me, it's really exciting to get the bite and get the hook up. And then it's much less exciting when you land it because it's like, it's
Yeah.
not, it's not the biggest fish. It's, you know, you know pretty well where it's going to be at the maximum size
Mhm.
and weight and everything like that. I just love the hunt
Yeah.
for it.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, everybody, you know, everybody has the things that excite them about fishing and the species that excite them. And, you know, it's just a personal thing.
Yeah. Have you gone for sheep's head up here?
I haven't. I have to do that though. So
Yeah.
I've caught
Yeah.
a ton of sheep's head. I've caught a ton of them in Florida.
Right.
They're obviously much more common down here, but you do not see the size that you see up north
Yeah.
with any regularity.
Yeah, I find that as an interesting one. I personally don't like sheep's head fishing because I don't have the patience.
Mhm.
Scotty's like the opposite, you know, kind of addicted to it. I just don't have the patience for sitting next to a bridge piling or on a rock for that for that long. Which is odd because tog fishing I could do it all day and just be happy the entire day.
Mhm.
So you haven't gone. Are you going to be coming up and fishing for the sheep's head?
I have to arrange to do that this summer.
Okay. Yeah, I would suggest it. I have caught double digit size. Actually, my first sheep's head ever was a double digit. So I was kind of spoiled, I think.
Oh,
But
yeah.
oh my God,
Yeah,
talk about a
you know
fight.
what? I kind of got spoiled myself with that too. I mean,
Yeah.
there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that I put in trying to dial in that fishery.
Mhm.
And my first sheep's head was a 12-pounder. And everyone was like my close buddies and mentors were like, dude, that incredible. And it took me 2 years to get anywhere to actually hit that, not that 12-pound number again.
Yeah.
So I kind of got spoiled and with my first sheep being that big.
See, I
But
was lucky.
yeah,
I,
the big
I was gonna say I got
Go ahead.
lucky because I didn't do anything to dial anything in. It was, do you want to go sheep's head fishing? I said yes. Let's
Yeah.
test this new tackle. I said yes. And we got some crabs off the beach and we got some I had for fluke fishing some sand fleas. So I had sand fleas too.
Mhm.
And I think that's what I caught them on.
How long
And
ago
we
was that, Rich?
it was a few years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 years ago, but we were literally there. And the first one that I caught, now look, listen, I say it's a double digit because it obviously was. I think it was 29 inches. I mean, it was huge.
That's
Mhm.
29 inches. I measure and tag a lot of fish. 29 inches is a huge sheep.
It was huge and had half a tail. The top
Mhm.
of the tail was gone.
Yeah.
So and whenever anyone posts pics, I look and see it does it have a half a tail. So that was the first one. The
Yeah.
second one was I think 25 inches, and the third. This is all the same
Yeah.
day within an hour. And then the third one
Yeah.
was probably, I'm guessing, around a 7 or 8 pounder. So it was a good size. And then it was like,
Mhm.
I'm done. And
Yeah.
and then I never had the
25 inches
desire.
is still is a really big fish still. I would say 25 inches, you're in the double digit range for sure still.
It was close. I don't know if it was over. The first one was
Yeah.
clearly over. So Justin, what's
Yeah.
what size are you typically getting when you're, I know you're probably not targeting them, but what size would you expect to get down in your area?
I mean, you get a lot of like 15 to 20-inch fish, and then you'll
Yep.
get some up into the mid 20s. I mean, I caught one in Government Cut off of Miami. That was probably 8 pounds, just estimating, on a whole blue crab, a whole live blue crab fishing for a permit.
Wow.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, you know, like that, like anything over 20 inches is a real nice fish down here. And I don't know if
Mhm.
you just don't see the giants. And it's the same for a lot of species that you do towards the edges of their ranges. You're going to see that you're going to find the biggest individuals. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
unquestionably.
I've always said that same thing, Justin. The biggest of any species will always push their migratory range the furthest.
Yep.
You know, even great whites and even grander makos, for instance, because years ago, mako fishing, like that's what I grew up doing. Like a lot of those really, really big makos, a lot of those were much further north than you would expect to find,
Yeah.
you know, your typical mako shark. So
Yeah.
You know,
it's pretty amazing the way the migratory patterns of each species kind of goes.
so Justin, do you fish for shark?
Especially talking with the big one.
Yeah.
I do from time to time. I mean, Florida is blessed in the fact that, you know, most that you can catch massive sharks from shore.
Yeah.
You can, I mean, you could drop a bait, you know, off a beach and, you know, catch huge tigers, huge hammerheads. Along the panhandle during the winter and early spring, you can catch makos, and they have been getting some great
Yes.
white from shore there. I don't do a ton of it. You know, every once in a while, I'll just you know, go down to the beach and drop a bait off there. Mostly catching, you know, big lemons, bulls, or black tips.
Black tips. Yeah.
Yeah, believe it or not, I've caught hammerheads, but I want to kind of I want to avoid catching them from the beach because a lot of them they stress out really easily, and a lot of these bigger ones do die after release. Yeah, so you know, but I do, yeah, from time to time I like to go, you know, just out to the beach, you know, put a bait out and sit back and wait.
Yeah. What's that called, Scotty? Ghetto
So
sharking?
no, that's a little bit different.
It's
That's what I
backwater.
used to call it, up by me. But yeah, I still love. I kind of grew up, like I said, mako fishing, shark fishing, offshore shark fishing. That was a big thing for me growing up. But what. Where do you have, just out of curiosity, I've been seeing a lot of great whites caught from shore recently. Do you know anything about that, or where they might be coming from? I'm just curious.
Well,
Is that a Florida thing right now, or are they catching them more like in the South Carolina range or Georgia?
The ones from shore are coming from the panhandle of Florida, and then there was one guy that posted one from the Northeast that I'm pretty sure he just went up to Cape Cod and did that. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure the legality of it, given their protected status.
I know.
Target them. You know, I mean, down in the panhandle, I mean, they do get them. You know, they do get them in the winter, but I mean, I don't
in the winter
ever say that you're actually targeting them more so than any other species because, you know,
of course,
guys are, you know, there's a handful every year that are caught and released, and there's a lot of guys that are shark fishing.
Have you ever caught one?
Not a great white, no.
Yeah, me either. I don't think I've even seen one. I used to do a lot of shark fishing. That was pretty much all I did for a few years. Actually, when I was in college, we would go out, and I'll tell you what, talk about like the border of a range of a species. We had in our slick a hammerhead that was scary massive. We're in a 24-foot boat, and this thing must have been 14 to 16. I mean, it was massive.
Yeah.
And what I thought was interesting, and it came up in the slick, and unfortunately it was perpendicular to us, so we didn't, you know, we didn't get the great view at first, but you know, it's easy to tell the fin. It's the easiest shark to identify besides the thresher. So it comes up and we're like, oh, hammerhead, and we're waiting for it to turn, and it never turns, but we're watching it. And then we notice two small fins coming straight up the slick. It had babies with it. I didn't know that they traveled together, but they were two small meaning they were probably 5 feet each. And they came and they were hitting the chum bucket. And unfortunately, this was pre, you know, cell phone days, but they're hitting the chum bucket. We're throwing the chunks out, and they're eating them as the big one just circles the boat. It does one full circle, and it gets a little bit closer, and they just dive and they come up next to it and they leave. It blew my mind, but that thing was massive. It was so big. And think about this. I'm in college. Like, you want to catch the biggest. We had like wire line. We had everything. And we're like, pull those deep lines in if that goes under. There's no way that we want to even hook this thing, because even if we somehow hook it, we're going to kill it trying to get it in, because the rods, they're big shark rods, but it's not for a 12 plus foot fish.
Right.
And then the other thing that we were concerned is it would pull so much line and then break that it would be trailing 200 yards of line and wire behind it. So we didn't do it. But I that was off in New Jersey. It was out at the 28-mile wreck.
Okay.
It was insane. It was the Misty Blue. Sorry, it was the Misty Blue. I couldn't believe it. That was the biggest one that I've ever seen, and it was a hammerhead of all things.
Yeah. No, they're very cool.
I wanted to ask you, Justin, because I know that you have experience with this. So they've always been a bucket list fish of mine, and I've always had a fascination with them. And I just found a dead one floating this fall. Actually, it was December. Is sturgeon fishing.
Yes.
I know that you've caught some monster sturgeons, and I believe that was probably the West Coast where you caught them. What can you tell us about that? How was that experience?
It's an amazing.
I mean, because I think it. Yeah. I mean, I've seen you in the water with some absolute dinosaur sturgeon.
Yeah, I mean, so the Atlantic sturgeon we have on the East Coast don't get quite as large as the white sturgeon. The white sturgeon is the second largest, only to the beluga sturgeon that's in Russia. We're fishing whole. So there's actually in the Columbia River over on the West Coast in Oregon. There's American shad. We use whole American shad for bait. And you're just fishing heavy gear, 100-pound braid, and you're fishing the bottom anywhere from 70 to 200 feet of water in that river. And, certain times a year when the flow is right and, the shad are running and spawning and dying, the fishing can just be incredible. But they're a super hard fighting fish, and they jump. And the great thing about when they jump is they're slower to come to the surface. So if you're filming it, or if you have a camera, you can get a chance to get that shot, because you'll know exactly when they're going to be popping out of the water.
They're a scary fish to see jumping, though.
Yeah. So the Gulf sturgeon, in Florida, there's on the what's the name of the river? It's a very famous Suwannee River. They do have warnings in the spring when they're coming up to spawn, because they're jumping, and there's been several significant injuries from people driving boats or jet skis and just happening to be in the wrong time. Yeah,
you see them. We saw them up in
sturgeon in Florida. Really?
Yeah, Gulf sturgeon. Yeah. They're just like the Atlantic and the shovel nose up in New Jersey. They're endangered, so you aren't allowed to target them. And if you catch them, you're not supposed to take them out of the water or anything.
Out of the water. Yeah, I get it.
We had a day striped bass fishing up in the Raritan Bay, so right at the Hudson, and the Hudson is known for the Atlantic sturgeon. And I'll tell you what, it scared the hell out of us. This thing came out of the water. It was massive. And it was near kayaks, right behind. I shouldn't say right behind. It was probably 50 to 60 feet behind a kayak. And it was as big as the kayak, it seemed. It wasn't really, but it seemed like it was, right? That thing came out of the water. It's as startling, if not more startling, than when a mako comes flying out for no reason. Makos they'll just come out of the water for no apparent reason. This thing, and it got air. I was like, that is insanity. And of course, a couple of the guys are like, well, I'm going to fish for it. No, first of all, no, you're not.
Yeah.
you can go over there and think you're fishing for it, but you're not going to catch it.
Yeah.
Man, that is a scary fish to come out of the water, even in a boat. And on a kayak, it just seemed to go that much that much higher. But talk about massive fish. Absolutely massive.
I mean, some of the biggest ones that I've caught two. The Columbia River has the biggest. So you have the Fraser River, the Snake River, which is actually upstream of the Columbia River, and the Fraser, the Snake River, and the Columbia River to target them. The Fraser has some of the most beautiful scenery, but the fish, they do get some big ones there, but they're just not on average that size. I mean, the Columbia River, your average fish is in the 7 to 8 foot range, and I've caught numerous 9 and 10 plus, and then I've gotten 2 that were over 11 feet, and
wow.
One of them jumped, like watching a horse come out of the water.
That is crazy.
It's incredible.
Absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
So what are you doing that you can go anywhere? Like, you fish all over the place. Do you do anything else, or are you only fishing all the time?
I fish. I play music too. But
okay.
I was going to say he's an incredibly talented musician and guitar player.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm a fellow musician and guitar player as well. But I watched some of your stuff, and it's you're multi-talented.
Really thank you very much.
Yeah, I got no talent in that area. I have a harmonica. Can't play it. I accidentally ordered it. I put it in my cart as a joke on Amazon, and I accidentally ordered it. My wife's like, "What the hell did you get a harmonica for?" Like, she's afraid I'm going to start practicing. Like, I accidentally got it, and it's like $10. I'm not returning it.
But gotta keep the kids in line somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I do a lot of traveling to fish, and then when I go on vacation we went last June, went with my girlfriend and her family to Banff National Park, and do a little research there, and I saw that's where bull trout, there's some good bull trout fisheries out there, species I've always wanted to catch, so had to take the time to put in a day or two of fishing while I'm out there.
That's great. My son decided, just he and his friends right out of high school decided they were going to Canada, to Banff, and I was like, first of all, you're idiots. There's no way you're going to pull it off. They did. They actually slept in a U-Haul van so that they didn't have to pay for a hotel. So they slept in a U-Haul. Yeah. But I of course investigated, how safe is this and everything. And when I saw the fishing that's up there, I was like, oh my God. And my wife said, we got to go to Banff someday. And I'm thinking, I got to go to Banff someday, because I mean, you wouldn't think it, but I mean, it's a beautiful area, first of all, which is what draws everyone. But oh my God, the fishing up there is amazing. Yeah.
I mean, incredible trout fishing. There are some spots for big pike, and it's easy to get to. You fly into Calgary, and it's like an hour and a half drive. It's beautiful area, just tons of cool stuff to do.
You just got to watch out for the bears.
So
got to watch out for the bears.
Yeah.
So it's funny you had mentioned pike. Pike was actually the next thing that I wanted to bring up. That was something that was another one that you kind of had like a niche for, or that you were extremely good at. You used to get some monster pike up in Jersey. I would see you talk about it. I mean, some pike bigger than I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, Jersey, believe it or not, I mean, most people wouldn't think of Jersey as a great pike location, but the Passaic River just has some absolute giant fish and some really, really good fishing.
Dinosaurs.
Yeah.
There's
a few lakes that are really good. I mean, Spruce Run has them, and Pompton Lake used to be really good, but they started weed killing it, and that kind of destroyed that fishery.
So I heard about that. I was asking about pike, and I was told that used to be awesome, but they didn't know why it sucked now. So now we know.
You know what? Anywhere, I mean, and
Yeah.
this is my opinion, because they do it down here in some lakes and the peacock bass fishing just drops off. It seems anywhere they go, anywhere people they go to weed kill, it just the fishery crashes. It's just not good
Yeah, it's a
anymore.
shame. Yeah,
You know,
I think what was it, 2 winters ago when I was down in Florida, they had opened the Okeechobee
Yep.
locks and had let all the water out, and
that's the worst.
during the time that I was there, it killed the fishing like in the Sebastian area, and it basically like almost the whole month that I was down there. It was even affecting all the fishing, I believe, in the Keys, if I'm not mistaken. Like, am I wrong in that when they open the gates that some of that runoff even affects the fish down there? Because they were
That
having problems with like a lot of the sawfish around the time that swimming
yeah.
in circles and a lot of fish getting sick.
So that actually that's a little bit separate. The West Coast,
Mm-hmm.
you'll notice they do a lot more releases on the West Coast, and it just causes these massive red tides that kills everything. I mean, I can't believe this has been a problem for 30 years, and they still have done nothing about it. And whenever they open those gates, I mean, what'll happen in the Indian River is in the Stewart areas, you'll start this if they pause those releases for a year or two, the seagrass starts to grow back and everything starts to come back, and then they just do the releases and it kills everything again. But down in the Keys, that was, I believe that was traced back to because of the super high water temperatures we've been getting over the summers. That it's a species of dinoflagellate, very similar to ciguatera, which is a type of poisoning that you can get from fish that's caused by this dinoflagellate, and that I think was the issue.
So just to frame it out for people that aren't aware, when we're talking about releases from Okeechobee, we're talking about when they're opening the gates and letting that fresh water run out.
Yep. So you have agriculture rich, nutrient or not agriculture rich. You have nutrient rich fresh water getting dumped right into warm salt water, and that triggers these algae blooms.
Right. So you get the algae bloom. You also get the drop in salinity that rushes down, and it basically shocks everything in its way. But all that algae comes pouring down. There are also some places where they, quote unquote, accidentally overflow the untreated waste from time to time. I believe that's Tampa Bay area has that.
Yeah. So any septic system, and then, you have a lot of people living on the water and they allow them to fertilize their lawns and all of that. If you have waterfront property, you shouldn't, because all of that goes right into the system, causes these algae blooms. There's a number of different effects from it that just destroy everything. I mean, traditionally from Lake Okeechobee, the water would flow south through the Everglades where it gets filtered and then goes right down into Florida Bay. And they started doing sugarcane agriculture south of Lake Okeechobee. So they, I don't know exactly what the deal was, but then they ended up basically taking the water from Lake Okeechobee and diverting it to the Caloosahatchee River on the West Coast and St. Lucie on the East Coast. And it's the worst thing.
Yeah, and it's amazing when you this is a topic that I tried to get somebody on, I think it was 2 years ago, to talk about in detail what's happening in Florida, because here's the way that I look at it. There is no state, maybe Texas, maybe that focuses on fishing as much as Florida, and it has the power that Florida anglers have to manipulate their legislators into doing what's right. And they can't overcome this. I mean, this stuff just keeps happening, and it's scientifically shown to be destroying the ecosystem, and they can't stop it. It's insanity. And I tried to get a guy to come on, and it just never lined up. But the Okeechobee thing was the thing that he's like, this is literally the most controllable thing, and we're diverting it into these areas that we know can't support it, but we just do it on purpose anyway. You know,
Yes.
there are options, but they don't want to mess with certain business concerns. But they'll wipe out populations of fish, and it's disgraceful, really. You know,
And it's, I mean, and you know, the state relies heavily on tourism. So who's going to want to go to the West Coast when the beaches are loaded with dead fish and dead animals and it's hazardous to humans. When these red tides happen, I mean, it can cause respiratory issues. You know, it's just tragic.
It's depressing because, you know, you look at Maryland. Maryland has a lot of clout, but they don't have enough. You know, they can't overcome, you know, Omega,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and everyone else around them's trying to help, and it's not working.
That's another thing that really gets me going. Like I can see Justin get like you know, like not triggered in a way, but you're very passionate when you talk about the whole Okeechobee thing, because it truly is destroying like the ecosystem and fisheries. And I feel that same way about the Omega boats. I mean, I feel like I saw a direct impact this year, especially from the Omega boats and what they did this year to the bunker populations.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a direct reflection on this fall because of what the Omega boats did above us.
Yeah, and it even goes further. I mean, you look at the Delaware Bay, that used to be a mecca, and it's dead. And a lot of it is because of Pennsylvania and all the runoff that comes down out of the river into there. You could see here, I'll put it up on screen from James Flynn, 9 million gallons of raw sewage released into the Potomac in the past week.
And it's actually
really
so the other problem with Florida, you're having a lot of raw sewage problems down in Fort Lauderdale and a lot of those areas. My friend Jeff Maggio, he's Lunker Dog on social media, brings a lot of attention to it. But the other issue is that a lot of people that are elected into positions in Florida are developers, and they're literally developing every single square inch of land they possibly can along the coast. And they're doing so without regard to the infrastructure, without regard to the roads, to the sewer systems and all of that. And it's just causing massive issues.
Yeah. I mean, it's happening all over. I mean, you can even look freshwater. If you look near, so look, I live near Limerick, Pennsylvania. So there's a nuclear power plant, which is pulling water out of the river. Now they're putting data centers in, which is going to like take even more water. And they're not going to be a closed system, which means they're going to put that heated water back into the thing. And it's ridiculous. And and here's the thing. Nobody wants it around here, the data centers, and it's going to pass. And it's going to pass because the Limerick people and the fishing game of all, it's not fishing game. It's one of those departments, right? That's supposed to take care of the land. They're going to give it up. And there's nobody can stop it because it's an agency. It's not, it's not Limerick Township that's doing it, but it's going to be in Limerick Township. And I don't know. We could go for 8 hours on this topic, but it's not getting better, and it is scary. It is scary to me every time I see these things, especially Florida, because Florida they're the heavyweight champion of fishing, as far as the amount of backing that you have, and then the amount of organizations that are pumping money from the recreational anglers back into fixing this, and they can't even fix it.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you though, I really wish that the FWC and Florida in general, the way they manage their fisheries, and I could be wrong, it was just from my viewpoint. I feel like they really manage a lot of their fisheries very, very well. And I wish that New Jersey and some of these northern states would take a cue from Florida, in the way we manage our species up here, you know?
Yeah. So it's more, there really isn't Florida, and you're 1,000% right. So I worked as a marine biologist for the FWC for a few years. And
Did you
Florida,
really? Okay.
yes. So Florida has the FWC as the body that directly manages fresh and saltwater resources, pretty much hunting, fishing throughout the state. New Jersey, a lot of the Atlantic states are managed via these fishery management councils. So there isn't
Yeah.
a specific body that's specifically managing, the state waters in New Jersey. And in some cases, the councils make sense because of the overlap in species distribution. But yeah, Florida does an outstanding job of managing their fisheries. They're very proactive. They're very, the regulation. They're very conscious of user conflicts. They're very conscious of protecting anglers' rights, and but they also will step in when there's an issue, and they don't wait. When there was back in 2013, I think it was, there was a like a week-long cold snap down here that got into the 30s, and it caused on the West Coast that's shallower than the East Coast, it caused massive kills of fish, a lot, mainly snook. And, they immediately fisheries shut down, no keeping snook for not shut down. You could still fish for them, but no harvest of snook for X amount of years. And they built it up. They were very proactive. There used to be, they used to allow gill netting for mullet in the inshore estuaries, which gill nets will select for a size of fish. They don't select for species. So, took a big, the inshore fisheries took a huge hit from that. They, in the 90s, they banned those gill nets and everything came back. They do a fantastic job of managing fisheries down here, and they don't get enough credit for it. There's a lot of there's always going to be people complaining about it, that they do heavily regulate the reef fish species. But the truth of the matter is, species like grouper and snapper, if you don't manage them pretty tightly, I mean, guys down here in a lot of areas, they're very accessible. Like, you can go out and you can clean out a reef pretty easily, and you can really put a hammer down on those slower growing reef species.
Yeah. And I think that FWC is a great organization, but they still don't have the power to fix the real things. They manage the fishery, but they can't really do much about anything that's affecting the fishery. And that's where I was going with that.
No, they don't. I was just speaking more in terms of, like, I wish that New Jersey would I guess I wish that our fisheries were managed more the way that the Florida fisheries were, to protect our precious resources. I mean, up here, really saltwater inshore wise, like, we don't have many things to fish for up here anymore. You know what I mean? Not in the way that Florida does. And I guess more what I'm getting at, because it's something I'm passionate about, but it really, like, I guess burns my ass about the New Jersey not protecting the sheep's head, and that I it's like it's a fishery that we are lucky to have, and is already in trouble, and we can't get the state or the councils to do anything to protect it. You know what I mean? And I think it's a shame.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's so our whole lives, the thought was always, it's commercial fishermen that do the damage, not recreational fishermen. And for a
Mhm.
while, that was largely true. But these days, we have more. I mean, there's so many people recreationally fishing that it needs to be. I mean, that really needs to be taken into account. I mean,
Yeah.
just the people think about themselves. Well, I keep a few of these fish a year. Okay, well then multiply that by the thousands and tens of thousands of boats up and down. It's something that really needs to be taken into consideration of what's acceptable and what and some species I don't even know if they I don't know how they have the stock delineated for sheep's head and how they do the stock assessments, or even if there is a stock assessment. Some species they just
There
they don't
isn't.
have a thing
Yeah.
to do it.
No, but I believe
Yeah.
for the past couple of years they've been talking about taking a look at sheep's head. I don't know where they are with it, to be honest with you, but I agree they should
Mhm.
look at it. I'm always the one that says let's get some stats before we get some regulations.
Yeah.
But they're taking a long time, I guess is Scotty's
They're
point,
they're
is we could
taking
have
way
had
too
those
long.
numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean
Yeah.
a big problem with it is funding. Marine fisheries, it takes been taking a hit after hit, and it's tough to get those studies done. But yeah, I mean it's things that they absolutely need to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so listen, we're at an hour and 17 minutes. So we're gonna have to wrap this up.
Mhm.
Justin,
Yeah.
I am really glad that you came on. It was great talking to you.
Like,
I want to talk more. You're an interesting dude, man. Like I have so
Yeah.
many questions, and I was trying not to go too deep into any because we could have spent. I mean, I could have spent the entire time talking about Australia. I could have spent the whole time
Yeah.
talking about tuna. Um, I love the fact that you are a guy that has had the opportunity to do the type of fishing that we all want to do, right? So sitting here on a
The-
Monday night in the cold of winter, and I know it's even cold in Florida, relative, but it's still cold.
I like
The,
it.
yeah, I mean, this is what it's about, talking about these different species and something that's a little bit different. So thank you very much for coming on, Scotty. Thanks for setting it up with Justin as well.
Yeah.
Uh,
I was excited about this. Again, Justin is somebody that I've had a tremendous amount of respect for years, and when I started getting more and more involved in this, I always had it in the back of my head. I said I would love to have Justin on, and just because your vast knowledge of so many different fisheries. I mean, it's really incredible in your life experience. Um, I'm really grateful that you said yes and thankful. So thank you very much for your time and coming on and talking with us.
Absolutely. I love talking fishing. So thank you so much for the
Yeah,
opportunity. And this was great.
yeah,
and I'll come down and see you soon.
Absolutely.
I'll
Just
jump
give
on
me
the
yeah,
boat.
just give me
Yeah, I mean, I got to get out of this weather. This is crazy. I've got literally I've got
I
my
know.
trout rods
I
in the
hear you.
truck, and it's so iced over. There's no. I picked out all these spots. I was so excited. Winter trout, and they're all the spots that I picked are literally frozen. I'm like, well, I'm not doing this. So I got 2 trout rods in the back of my truck, looking like an idiot driving around in single digit weather, but hey, it's going to get better. Everyone, I want to let you know next week we're going to have Benji on, and we're going to be talking. So crabbing and fishing.
Awesome.
Yeah, we've got a
Yeah.
pretty cool topic for that. And then after that, we're going to kick off what we kind of teased back in the fall, which is we're going to go into in depth on the bucket list trips, and we're going to have Eric Cohen on. If you recall, this dude likes to go to the Amazon and likes to catch some fish down there. So he's going to come on,
Monster
talk about his
class.
latest
Yeah.
trip. Yeah, he's going to talk about his latest trip. And then after that, we've got a couple of things loosely coming together. So looking forward to it. If you have any guests that you'd like to, send forward, send me an email, send me a text. You got my phone number. Send me a text with their names. And if you are somebody that has a pretty cool story to tell, a bucket list trip, would love to talk to you. I'd like to get like one a month at least going, because nobody's fishing. So let's talk about, things that you can do to get out on the water or plan for next year, so you have that cool story to tell. We may not be traveling like Justin, but if we can do it once a year or once every couple of years, that's what it's all about, making those memories. So everyone, thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it. We'll be back next Monday night. Until then, I'm going to say it, even though I'm telling you, don't do it. Get out there, get on the water, and get some tight lines.